Hello there, folks. So I decided I'm going to make you a simple video just to show you the basic manual of arms for the AKM and how to use it. Now, I will preface this. I am by no means an expert in really anything related to this, but I do know the basics, and I know pretty much everything you're going to need to know regularly. How to clean this rifle, how to take it apart, how to use it, and that's what I'm going to give to you now. So, the AKM. It's a fine rifle requiring very little maintenance. In fact, one problem is over maintenance. If you are repeatedly cleaning the rifle, it can actually, specifically if you are, every single time you fire the rifle, you take out the cleaning rod, which I do not actually have in right now, and swab the rifle, it might actually do more harm than good. You might wear down the rifling more than if you just left it alone, squirted a bit of oil in there, and called it good. It occurs to me that it would be helpful if I had the cleaning rod and some oil right now, but I'm not going to hike all the way back out to get them. Alright, so let's start off. This rifle is unloaded. This magazine is unloaded. There is nothing in it. And that right there will already demonstrate the first thing, how to unload the rifle. You take the magazine out, you insert the magazine by, take it out by pressing that button and just rocking it forward. Now, to insert the magazine, and this is a very rough magazine. I went and bought better ones immediately because it's very hard to insert. You insert it so that there's a little catch there. So that catches on the inside there, and you just rock it back in. Easy. Exact reverse thing, except you press down that button. Yeah. This right here is the safety. This does not have the fun setting. It has safe, which is up, and fire, which is down. This is not a genuine AKM. It's an American reproduction, and so it doesn't have the fun switch. All right, so you'll notice that with the safety down, there's this gap here. This is the dust cover, by the way. With the safety up, there is no gap there. Right now, one interesting feature of the AKM is if this were loaded, and I wanted to know if there were a round in the chamber, I can have the safety on, and I can open up the rifle and look inside without ejecting around or loading around. Basically, if the safety's on, it isn't going to load around into the chamber because it only goes halfway, not all the way. And so you can check to see if there's a round in the chamber, and you can actually see into the magazine too. So that's that. Alright, you got your rear sight and your front sight. Your front sight is, it's got, you can screw the front sight post in or out by turning it. You notice this one's broken, so it's very, very adjusted that direction because it is broken. In fact, there is no way to zero this rifle. I'm gonna have to send it back. I'm guessing what the problem is that the front sight block is on crooked. And if you want to adjust it left or right, you push in the front sight barrel left or right. and I might get into that later. I probably should. Yeah. The rear sight has numbers. It's got numbers, and you can adjust it with this slider. You just push the two sides, push up, push down. And you can do this if you feel like it, but at that point it's pretty much indirect fire. Yeah. With me, it doesn't matter where I set it right now because the front sights are broken, so there's no point in even adjusting anything, and I've never gone out far enough such that I'd have to adjust it for any longer range. And you push the slider around and it will lock into different settings, right? So, yeah, this is the trigger. You pull the trigger to fire the rifle. Keep your finger off of it until necessary. Another feature of this particular one, because it is an American reproduction, is it has this little tab here. So before, you would have to take your hand out of the firing position to adjust the safety. Whereas now, you can flick it down, and up to a lesser extent, with your firing hand still in place. Alright, so, charging handle. Pull it all the way back, release the chamber around. Safe. Fire. Yeah. Another thing, if you want to lock the bolt back, that's what this tab here is for. This slot here in the tab is for. You pull it back and push the safety up to safe. And it has locked the bolt back. The bolt can't move. And yeah. This magazine is very, very sticky. Yeah. And to release that, you pull it back slightly, push that down. I've noticed, I'm not sure if this is a feature or a bug, but the charging handle can occasionally stick back there, but it does go forward eventually. If you shake the rifle, it'll go forward, so I'm not entirely certain that that's a feature. But I have used it like it was one. Alright, so, disassembly. And I will explain the cleaning even if I don't demonstrate it. So, there aren't a bunch of little parts, but you don't want to lose the few parts there are. It's very simple. And I literally do this with my eyes closed. You push back on the dust cover release button there, which sits in a sort of rail. This is important. You need to make sure you understand this. So to release the dust cover, you push the button in, remove the dust cover. Now, this is something that puzzled me for a half an hour and like 3 tutorial videos. This sits in, you can remove this, right? This is the recoil spring. It goes into the bolt there and forward into here. And this is what, well, it's the recoil spring. I did not understand this, but there is a rail here. You pop the recoil spring out, that sits in a rail of its own, and it also operates as the dust cover. It keeps the dust cover on. All right, so the bolt rides in these two rails here. At the back of the rails, there is an opening. You pull the bolt back, and it comes out of there. Now, I spent half an hour when I first got this thing trying to figure out how to put the bolt back in. It is stupidly simple. You want to make sure that the what is it, guess it'd be the bolt carrier group. I don't know if that's the correct term. You want to make sure that that's aligned, and you do that. It rides in. Here, I'll just remove it to demonstrate. All right, so there's this little slot here. So you put this in. You see this bit here? Put that in. You slide this in, push up. Now when it is in, it should be able to do like that. You can still rotate it to get it out, but it should lock up and down. Make sure it stays like that. You insert the piston. You insert the piston into the gas tube. And you press the... I do this with my eyes shut, by the way. You press the bolt into that slot there, and then you can push it forward on the rails. Right. You could go a step further. You take the bolt out and you open this lever. This requires a tool, which I don't have right now. You push this lever up, and the dust cover, and what am I talking about? Not the dust cover, the gas tube. The gas tube just lifts out of there. You put it back in, you slide it back into there, put it down, push the lever down, right? And that will do that. Also, your safety lever, you notice it can still turn between here and here. There is absolutely nothing except for the dust cover, a little tiny tab on the dust cover to stop it from coming out like this. Now, if this happens, this is a function, not a bug. You insert it back in like this. You make sure that it lines up in that hole there on the other side of the frame, and you just lower it down in. Simple. All right. And magazine already demonstrated that. Yeah. That is about all of the disassembly you will need to do. Now, as for cleaning, pretty much all of the cleaning you will need to do, if you absolutely want to, you can take the gas tube off and just sort of swab the inside of the gas block. You'll only get to about here. You won't be able to get down in there. You're not supposed to. And you can maybe swab out the inside of this, but actually, as it happens, the gas tube is not essential to the rifle's operation. The gas tube gas does not flow through the gas tube. That is not the gas tube's purpose. If gas is flowing through the gas tube, something might actually be wrong. The gas tube's entire purpose is to guide this piston here into that slot. There's a hole there. The entire purpose of this tube is to guide this piston into there. How this works is when the round is fired, the bullet goes through here, and the hot gases go back up through the gas tube, push this piston back, reloading the rifle, and it just has to slam back into that thing. If you can find some other way to do this, for example, a funnel attached here, you can run this without the gas tube. It's not even essential. Or if you want to do something kind of dumb that would damage the rifle in theory, but in practice these are pretty rugged, durable objects, you can simply manually guide that piston back into there after every shot, assuming it doesn't go in by itself. Don't run this without the gas tube. We are not chimpanzees. It is meant to have the gas tube on, but I am simply pointing out that in theory it is possible to run it without the gas tube. So, let's reassemble it. You put this back in. Fits in as it should. Now, next thing, you put the recoil spring into that little hole there. Goes in. You guide it into those rails there. Then, you take the dust cover, you put that back on, and you push it down so the button goes through the hole. That's it. The rifle is back together. Alright. That is disassembling and reassembling this rifle. I am debating inside myself whether I should go any further than that, and I think I will. If that's all you wanted to know, by all means just stop the video right now. You don't need to watch any more. What I'm now going to go into is my thoughts on and demonstrations of carrying and deploying this weapon. Alright. Yeah, as I demonstrated, this is empty. If I pull the trigger, nothing is going to happen. Well, firstly, because the safety's on. I just pulled it down there. Actually, I will use this opportunity to demonstrate something. This can be fired perfectly fine without the dust cover. You'll get a little powder smell in your face, but it can work entirely fine. So, you look inside there. I pull the trigger. That hammer slams home and hits the firing pin. Now I can actually push that down by hand and fire again, but there's obviously not going to be a round in the chamber because it can't get up through there. I can use this without the dust cover. It's not a good idea because then all the inner workings of the rifle are exposed, and you could get, you know, dirt and gunk in there, which is not good. It'll probably keep working for a good while. I just shoved a bunch of snow in there. Still works entirely fine. Yeah, so remember when I said it is more durable and better in the winter, I meant that. Now, the Australians did trials and found that the Steyr AUG was actually better than the AK. They were thinking about adopting a rifle from the AK family of rifles. Not sure which one. And they decided against it. They found the Steyr AUG to be better. I do not have a Steyr AUG. I have an AKM. Yeah. Oh, you can see the hammer up in there. Yeah. So, carrying, you notice I have this rope here. There's a sling, or I'm using it as a sling. Really, pretty much anything will work as a... This is just a rope. This is about as basic of a sling as you can get. And it works perfectly fine. It just gives me rope burns in the summer. Alright, because I've currently got it set up for the long sling type of things, you could just shorten it, and then all the sling does is it's just a rope, ideally a shorter rope, as short as you can make it, like that. And then all the sling is it's a rope. You sling the rifle over your shoulder. That's that. You carry it like this. You could maybe even, depending on how long the thing is, the rope is, and how much clothing you're wearing, sling it over like this, and then you have to take it off of your back to fire. If you're using a short sling, then it's you just take the rifle off your back and get it ready to fire. I had vastly preferred that, but I encountered this one exponent, is that the word? Proponent of the long sling style of rifle carrying, which I tried it, didn't work at first, and now I've kind of gotten the hang of it. And basically, you do everything with the sling still on you. Right now it's on my back, but I can very, very rapidly bring it ready to fire. All I do is, and you fight with the rifle in the sling. And you can even add pressure and try to use the sling to keep it steady. Sorry to anyone who is lurking in those bushes, but you shouldn't be there. Yeah, basically I'm pressing against the rifle, and the sling just sort of helps keep it steady, I guess. Again, I am not an expert. There are people who are vastly better at this than I am. But you might find it useful to have someone who is not an expert explain it to you, because then you'll probably... I'll probably just be giving you the information that is absolutely essential and leaving a whole bunch of stuff out. Yeah. So, with this, you can... Like, my hands are free right now. And I can just have it like this. How I usually... Hello, squirrel. How I usually carry it is about like this. And I do a lot of walking around in these woods at night, and because we have bears and coyotes and all sorts of fun stuff like that, then I generally bring my rifle with me wherever I go. And I like to carry it with around 2 steps to firing. So let's assume this magazine has rounds in it, has cartridges in it, but there is not one in the chamber, right? So what do I need to do to fire? Well, you got to disengage the safety, load a round into the chamber, and ready the rifle. Raise the rifle, whatever, right? And then I can fire. I could just be going around with the round in the chamber and the safety off, and then all I have to do is raise the rifle and fire. And that would work. I don't think there's actually much risk of the rifle going off when dropped. I don't think that's too terribly likely. I don't think that's too terribly likely to happen. But just in case, I like to have some step between me and firing. So, for example, if I had a round in the chamber, then I would have the safety on. So let's say there's a round in the chamber. Well, I put, and you can just do it like this, I put the safety on, so now what I have to do, raise the rifle and flick the safety off. And then it is ready to fire at whatever I need to fire it at. Or, sometimes what I'll do is I'll have the safety off, but no round in the chamber. So then what do I have to do? I have to load a round in the chamber and raise it. 2 steps either way. Now, last night as I was walking around, hello insects, the bugs are starting to come out. Yeah, tiny mosquitoes. I thought of something, or realized I could do something, which is that I can have the safety up, which there's just this little slot here in which stuff could get into the rifle. That's the only purpose of, like, this closes that hole. I'm not really too worried about anything getting in there. Maybe, like, I don't know, come in there might do something. I'm not too worried about something being in there. Especially not if I'm just walking around and not, crawling on my stomach or dashing through the woods. I'm not too worried about something getting in there. But maybe it's just nice to have the safety on, right? And so, normally how I go around is no round in the chamber, and just like this. Right? Just casually walking around. And I can ready it to fire. what I discovered is that I could leave the safety up and load the rifle with one action. All I have to do is just put my wrist up here, and I can load the rifle and remove the safety with one action. And I found that interesting. And if you absolutely want to keep the safety on and you don't want a round in the chamber either, then, well, trouble is when that happens. Yeah, and it happened again. Then you can do this, and if it works, if you do it successfully, then it takes about as much time as just racking the bolt and loading a round. Roughly the same amount of time, and you have no round in the chamber, and the safety's on. So just that little bit of extra safety, I don't even know if you really need it at all, especially because if there's no round in the chamber, it doesn't matter if you're pulling the trigger. You can pull the trigger all you like, there's no round in the chamber. If there is a round in the chamber, but the safety's on, again, you can pull the trigger all you like, it isn't going to go off. You don't want to rely on that because, let's say you are crawling on the ground, or let's say you've got the rifle about like this, and as you spin it around, something knocks the safety down. Well, guess what? Now you can fire. Or maybe it's just up on your back, and you fall over, something knocks the safety off, well, now it can fire. It's just that little bit of extra safety if you want it. That's an idea I had. Yeah. Those are my thoughts on carrying it and levels of readiness. I've already expounded on that quite thoroughly in a different video, which whoever you are, you probably have access to. Yeah. And yeah, so those are just my thoughts on it, and you can keep it even like this. This gives you a lot more like you can move around a lot more if you just keep it around your neck instead of over like this, but also it can move around a lot more. You're probably going to need a hand on it, and it's just at this level, all it is just something supporting the rifle on your neck for walking with it over long distances. That's all this is, which is all a sling needs to be, actually. But it doesn't give you the sort of extra stability of pressing the sling against your body like that. But maybe you don't want that. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. Have a good day, folks.